Everybody should have one of these at their table. Go ahead and grab it. Why change? If we're a company, it could be because of competition eating into our markets. And it could be that our markets are shrinking because our customers are no longer buying our products like they used to. How about in our Toastmasters clubs? What if our membership begins to drop? We need to make a change to improve things. W. Edwards Deming was the guru of organizational process improvement. He said, "It is not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory." I want to talk to you today about a process that we can use to help make change easier. John Cotter is an expert in organizational change. He is an author, he gives seminars, he is a consultant, and he is also a professor at the Harvard Business School. And he created this 8-step process of successful change. Step 1 is to create a sense of urgency. We need to help others understand that change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. We need to use passion, not stand up and give some kind of a slack statement to a board saying, "Hey, here's some problems that we need to fix." There's an example of a mid-level manager in a company. He was responsible for logistics, and he discovered that within all the different divisions of his company, they ordered 247 different kinds of gloves for their employees. Rather than go up before the board and say, "You know, that's too many gloves, we need to maybe cut down some," what he ended up doing was bringing in boxes and boxes of all 247 gloves and dumping them out onto the table. And the board realized that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are many other things that are being ordered that could probably be streamlined, and they were fully on board with making a change to improve things. Step 2, pull together a guiding team. This needs to come from the top all the way to the bottom. They need to be knowledgeable so they can understand how to make the change happen. They need to have the authority to make the change happen. But most importantly, they themselves should want to make this change happen. They need to be fully on board with it. Step 3, develop the change vision and strategy. Vision comes from leadership. The strategy is that plan to implement that vision. Step 4, communicate for understanding and buy-in. We need to make sure that everyone understands why change needs to happen and what the steps are to make that change happen. They need to understand what's going to happen if change doesn't happen. What are the bad things that will happen if we don't change? But they also need to understand what are the good things that are going to happen once this change occurs. Step 5, empower others to act. We need to remove as many barriers as possible. We need to make it easy for those trying to make the change to actually succeed. Now, these barriers could be processes, but they could also be people. There's a story of another manager in another company. The company was trying to change to improve their customer service. And this manager felt, I give very good customer service. We don't need to make a big change. They could have removed him as a barrier by firing him, but they didn't. What they did is make him a liaison and made him work in the customer's facilities. And it didn't take very long for him to realize that indeed there were many things that could be changed to improve customer service. And when he returned, he was fully on board with change. He was all for it. Step 6, produce short-term wins. We need to have measurable, incremental steps so that we know when the change is succeeding. And as these steps are achieved, we need to celebrate them. You see, people like to celebrate achievement. And we need to give them something to celebrate. We can't wait, perhaps years down the road, when the change is complete, to celebrate. Break it up into steps and celebrate along the way. Step 7, don't let up. We need to keep up that sense of urgency that was identified in step 1. We need to keep pushing, and we need to keep pushing hard until we finally succeeded in the task that we're trying to achieve. What we need to be careful of is to not become complacent, because step 7, we're celebrating those incremental, successful steps. And we might think that we're getting into a rhythm of success, and we can stand back and let that change continue to happen. If you do that, you're going to fail. You need to keep pushing until you've got what it is you're trying to achieve. And this sense of urgency is best at this stage to come from the top. Step 8 is to create a new culture. If all you do is try to create a new culture and think that the change is going to occur because the culture has changed, it's going to fail. How do you change the culture? Steps 1 through 7. Create a sense of urgency. Pull together the guiding team. Develop the change vision and strategy. Communicate for understanding and buy-in. Empower others to act. Produce those short-term wins, and don't let up. And the culture will change. But it needs to stick. Some companies have programs that help this change to stick. For instance, could be inspirational testimonials from customers telling how the change that the company instituted really helped them out and affected them. And these testimonials sometimes are so emotional that employees can be driven to tears. Not for sadness, because they're happy. They're happy that the change that they were involved in has really helped somebody out. And they don't want to go back to the old way of doing things. They want to continue with this change and to make it stick. Change can be hard, but when we have a process to follow, it can be made much easier. Consider the alternatives. It is not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory. Madam Toastmaster.